Emergency pod time, people. Hey, welcome to Beat Everyone. I'm Ben Flanagan with AL.com. The Michigan head coaching job is open. Sharon Moore is out. You can go read why elsewhere. Where it might concern Alabama is Kalen DeBoer's name is all over the place as a top candidate to be Michigan's next head coach. There were rumors that he would be sought to fill the Penn State opening, but he shut that down publicly. They've since hired Matt Campbell. We've moved on from Penn State rumors and chatter. But there are national voices out there who keep mentioning Kalen DeBoer as an obvious candidate for this job. So to address this, we have to bring on our friend and AL.com Alabama beat writer, Nick Kelly. Nick, welcome. I know that you thought the coaching carousel had stopped spinning finally and that you just had the college football playoff to cover now, but here we are. How you doing?
Doing well. It is a crazy time of year. And this carousel, though, I know it's easy to get trapped in the moment and it's easy to talk about recency bias, but this might be the craziest coaching carousel of all time. I mean, it never seems to let up. It never seems to, I don't know if disappoint's the right word, but it just has been crazy. I mean, it really has. And just so many elements. It's not just coaches getting fired and coaches replacing them. There have just been so many curveballs, so many crazy things happen, and it just keeps going.
Yeah, it's like an M. Night Shyamalan movie, just one twist after the next, and just almost as brain dead as those movies have become. We're not here to speculate. We're here to talk about what you actually know as it relates to Kalen DeBoer and any mutual or one-sided interests there might be with Michigan. So, Nick Kelly, what do you know right now?
Well, let's start with probably why he's getting mentioned so much, and that is there was interest, I think, on Michigan's part back when Kalen DeBoer was at Washington. I think that if Kalen DeBoer doesn't end up at Alabama, there's a very realistic world where he could have gotten that Michigan job. And now I think he left like late January, and obviously DeBoer took over, what was that, January 13th at Alabama. So the time didn't work out, but there was definitely interest. Like that's pretty well known. And I think that people in the industry know that was a thing. So yeah, I think it makes complete sense why he's being mentioned. And I would not be surprised if Michigan has interest again. I mean, Kalen DeBoer is a good coach. He has won in a lot of places. And I know that people can focus on what he hasn't done or what his shortcomings might be at Alabama. But I mean, he's a good coach. And there's a reason that he's getting mentioned for all these jobs like Penn State and Michigan. Now, my reporting on the Penn State situation, even before DeBoer came out and said it, like everything I heard was there was really not much to it. And that's from people across the industry. That just never really seemed like a real thing. I mean, there are a lot of rumors to it, but no doubt. I mean, Michigan, you look at this situation and Michigan's a great job. I mean, that really is a really good job in college football. They have a ton of resources. It's a blue blood program. They've had success. So you can understand why they would attract a good candidate pool. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that Kalen DeBoer would want that job or that he would want to leave Alabama. Because the thing is, Ben, when I've talked to people just who've known Kalen prior to his Alabama days, who've known Kalen for years, most of them just say this wouldn't really make sense for him to leave Alabama for Michigan because that's just not kind of the way Kalen is. I mean, he's a competitor, and no matter how you slice it, I mean, it would kind of be viewed as him backing out of Alabama to go to what's essentially a lateral move. It was one thing to go from Washington to Alabama, but going from Alabama to Michigan, it's kind of a lateral move. And I have had no indication from anyone that he's being pushed out in any way or that people at Alabama don't want him there. I think people in the know, people who know what's up with this current landscape of college football know that he's doing a good job and that he's a good coach. And yeah, it's tough to win now, and it's tough to build a dynasty like Nick Saban did, but this is such a different world of college football. So yeah, I think that it would, if Kalen DeBoer is going to leave at this point, is going to be on his own volition or him wanting to leave. And just people who know him, have known him for years, just don't think that's his style or think that makes sense. And so you never say never in this business. But at this point, it still would surprise me if he were to leave for a Michigan from where he's got the Alabama job.
So you said he's a good coach, and I think that's the answer to this question. But Nick, why, when Kalen DeBoer already has one of the best jobs in the country and has now led Alabama to the playoff in his second year, does he continue to get mentioned as a candidate for other jobs? Why is he, in the minds of so many people, so available? Is it strictly because of his outsider status here in Tuscaloosa that maybe people feel like this isn't ultimately where he wants to be, or that he hasn't quite settled in? What is it about DeBoer where people think, okay, he belongs at the top of a candidate list when a big job opens?
Like I said, part of it is I think because of Michigan's interest before, back when he was at Washington. So I think that's why you see a big push nationally immediately to say, hey, this would make sense. But to the point about there's this big narrative out there that he's not happy in Alabama, he doesn't belong here. And I've yet to hear from anyone, and I talked to a lot of people, Ben, like just in different positions, different places. I've yet to hear from anyone in a real credible way that he's unhappy here or that this isn't a good fit. I think it just is an easy narrative because he's not from here and he's replacing Nick Saban, who had this place running a certain way for 17 years. So I think it's an easy narrative for people to point to. But again, I go off of what I know, what I've heard, and I've not heard anyone in a serious way say that this is not a good fit or he doesn't like to be here.
So, Nick, if he stays at Alabama, at what point does Alabama publicly announce a contract extension? Like, I know that programs who want their man and are on these coaching searches, they can ignore extensions and still get them. But it seems like a public gesture like that would at least make a statement emphatically about stability right now.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that obviously is a way that you can communicate that and show people that. But then again, you look at some places where they might announce an extension. It may be just that, an extension. It may not even be a raise. It may be just a public posturing of sorts. And how dry is that ink in certain places? I mean, that's the thing with this Michigan job. There might be a coach who already announced an extension somewhere that could be in play for this job. So you never quite know. But yeah, I would say that I think that you can make the argument more now that it'd be worthwhile to extend Kalen, considering he made the playoff, 10 wins. Like, they are improving. I know that people are going to compare it to Nick Saban's Alabama, or they're going to compare it to that, but you just can't. And I know that may sound like a loser's mentality, but you just can't because it's such a different college football. And I don't think that the cupboard was as full as people think it was when Nick Saban left. I mean, look at, and I'll prove it to you. Look at who the best players are in this Alabama team. If you list the top five, three are Washington players, former Washington players: Parker Brailsford, Josh Cuevas, Jeremy Bernard. So the idea that he's just taking over this Ferrari, all right, hop in, drive, that's not the case. So, but I do think that they are showing improvement. They went from 9 wins to 10 wins this season. They made the playoff, made the SEC championship game. Of course, the way that game went leaves a sour taste in people's mouths. But I do think you can argue that an extension is worthwhile. And even aside from that, Ben, I mean, in any industry, you're worth what others think you're worth. So if he is getting pursued, then yeah, an extension could come. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him extended. And I think it makes a lot of sense as to where the season is going, especially if they beat Oklahoma.
That would go a long way, to say the least. And look, different situations, and this conversation's for a different day. But Nick Saban lost 6 games in his first season, lost the SEC championship in his second season, and we obviously know what happened after that. But the programs are in much different shape when each coach arrived. Let's be clear about that. So Greg Byrne shared recently that before Nick Saban announced his retirement, he and the athletics department had outlined this 38-page plan for succession once Nick Saban decided to move on. And they obviously executed it in hiring Kalen DeBoer just a couple of days after Nick Saban retired. Any idea if there's a similar plan in place if and when DeBoer or whomever is coaching might take another job?
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, I don't. But I do know that Greg Byrne is a smart guy and he's prepared. I mean, he really is making sure that he knows what's going on in the industry. He's making sure that he's ready for all scenarios. I mean, because you have to be in that role. Like, you can't just sit back and rest on your laurels. I mean, you have to be prepared. So I think that, yeah, I can't tell you about some concrete thing that he's got ready to go or something like that, because I do fully think that DeBoer has support in the athletic department. So there's again, they're not pushing him out. They aren't looking for another coach. But yeah, I mean, Greg is smart and he's prepared. And I always go back to that idea, no matter what is happening in the chaos of college athletics.
Speaking of chaos, last thing for you, Nick, do we think that the coaching carousel chaos is a distraction for a team that's getting ready for a playoff right now? Like, how does it trickle down to the players? Because this isn't the first time they've probably heard chatter. We talked about the Penn State thing, but there was obviously not much, if any, substance to that. People seem to feel differently about the Michigan thing, but it's all speculation at the moment. But regardless, speculation is still potentially distracting to a team that's getting ready for a huge game.
Yeah, I mean, they're human beings. They hear things. They're on social media. They see things. So, I mean, you can dwell on it or you can treat it like other outside noise. I mean, they love to talk about that, right? Like in Alabama, any other team, ignoring the outside noise. But it is, I mean, it's cliche, but it is important. So, can it distract you? Yes. Can they also have some agency in that and make sure it doesn't distract them? Also, yes. So, we'll see. I think that this is the motivation of trying to beat an Oklahoma team that you lost to earlier in the season, I think is going to overpower most things. And also, frankly, the bad taste that's left in their mouths after that game against Georgia in the SEC championship game. They want to get that out as well. So, yeah, I mean, you hear other things happen, other things are going on in the world. But I think that if they're smart and if they take, again, the agency in, they can decide what to focus on. And I would have to think that they'll be smart and not focus on other things like coaching buzz.
Nick, I know you're flying out to Norman soon to cover the college football playoff. I have to wonder, somebody in your position, when things like this are moving so fast, when you're on a plane, and I know that Wi-Fi is getting better when you're thousands of feet up in the air, but like when you're on a plane, how paranoid are you that news is going to break while you're sitting in a chair in the sky?
There's always some paranoia. I mean, that just comes with the job, comes with the territory. But you just hope that it's not that one time you're in the plane. But that's what you got Matt Stahl for. You take different flights too. You take different flights. You try not to be on the same travel plans, so that because I'm fortunate to have another beat writer to work with, that we can kind of coordinate that way.
I feel sorry for the person who's sitting next to Matt on that flight, and he's in their ear about how there shouldn't be national championship games in college football. Bless that person. Hey, read Nick Kelly's work, and Matt Stahl's for that matter, on AL.com. Follow his and all of AL.com's Alabama football coverage during the college football playoff. There's going to be a lot of it. Nick, we always appreciate it, man. Stay safe out there and safe travels.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ben. Good talking to you.
I'm joined by a very special guest because we have some feelings to talk through, because Alabama football fans right now have a lot running through their minds, running through their bodies. Alabama's in the playoff. They're in the college football playoff. They play the first round at Oklahoma, December 19th, Friday night. But you wouldn't know it by the sound of some fans out there who would rather be anywhere else than out there in Oklahoma for a rematch and a chance at winning a national championship. I'm joined by my good friend, my AL.com colleague, Pulitzer Prizes winner and author, John Archibald. John, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Also, the host of a fantastic podcast called American Shrapnel. You've probably heard it by now, but if you haven't, go out and check it out. But John, we're here to talk about Alabama football, and I bring you on because you're a lifelong fan. Is that fair to describe you that way?
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay. So Alabama, like I said, is in the playoff, and I mentioned that you're an author and you have quite the podcasting voice. And you posted something on the social media this week, expressing yourself and how you feel about Alabama's current stature as maybe a playoff contender, what their chances are, and just why they may or may not deserve their current position in the CFP. So, John, if you wouldn't mind, if you'll indulge me here, would you mind performing a reading of what you wrote?
I will. I would have asked somebody to read it first had I known that it was going to take off like that. I wrote, I'm an Alabama guy, an Alabama grad, an Alabama fan since before we sent people to the moon. And I know all about not penalizing teams for playing in championship games. I agreed with that until yesterday, which was Saturday. But it's flat out embarrassing to make the playoffs after suffering one of the worst beatdowns, top 4 that I can recall, in 6 decades of watching this damn game. Hapless, helpless, and hopeless in all phases of the game, on and off the field. I guess football was better when all the games mattered, when mailing one in had consequences. Damn you, selection committee, for making me have to hope again. Just prove me wrong, Bama, or you'll prove me right.
Wow. beautifully written, beautifully told. But my first question is, how dare you, John?
Yeah. People like to say fair weather fans and all that. And I would argue, if you have watched Alabama football for as long as I have, the thing we as Alabama fans know is when we play well and when we don't. And, and to look at that, I mean, negative yardage, inability to function in all levels of the game, and an inability to adjust during a game. We can look at that and say, do we deserve to play? And the answer is no. Do I want to play? Do I want a chance to see them take on Oklahoma again? I mean, in theory, yeah. Although I'm. It's just not. It hasn't been a good performance, and you don't want to get opportunities you don't deserve.
Lots to chew on there, and it sounds like you're wrestling with a lot, John. And
During
I have
kickoff
empathy for you.
Yeah, during kickoff, I'm going to be there all in because I can't help myself, and I'm going to get my hopes up, and I'm going to say we're going to pull it out because that's what I always do, and then if we do it, then we'll have to do it all over again.
Well, so you're in the self-loathing phase of being a fan, which is very cyclical. It goes round and round. When it's joyless murder ball and everybody wants Bama and you bathe in that, but when it doesn't meet the standard that is Alabama football that the fans have, that Nick Saban always had, that I'm sure Kalen DeBoer and the current regime have, is it the standard, John? Is it just that you're used to championships and you're used to them being won a certain way? Style points, that was a phrase that we used talking about what Alabama needed against Georgia and didn't deliver. But Alabama had a good season. They won 10 games. They beat Georgia. They beat 4 straight ranked opponents, never been done in the SEC. So the committee thought they had the resume to make the playoff. They did a whole lot before they got blown out by Georgia. So was it just that they laid an egg, they froze in the moment where they needed to perform most, that has you this downtrodden? What is it exactly?
No, for me, it's 2 years in a row of starting slow, coming on strong, looking good. Have some announcer somewhere say your quarterback is going to be the first round number 1 pick, and then careening off into the ditch after that. And the last 4 or 5 weeks have been terrible. The basic fundamentals, watching an Alabama team that can't run the ball is astonishing to me in my 6 decades of this game. And I just, the failure to react, I think, has been disturbing to a lot of people. I mean, I can't help but think that, during the championship game, Nick Saban benched Jalen Hurts at halftime because he wouldn't get the job done. And at some point you got to wonder if, drastic measures are needed.
Whoa. So are you one of the folks out there who during the Iron Bowl or Georgia game or whenever it may have been that saw Ty Simpson underperforming, certainly not performing up to the standard that he created for himself and the rest of the team during the season? Did you think that Kalen DeBoer should have benched Ty Simpson during the Georgia game?
I think he was ineffective and nothing else worked. And I'm not saying he's not the guy. I would never say Jalen Hurts is not the guy. But sometimes you got to try things. If they've got 3 good quarterbacks down there, just let somebody give it a shot. He was shook. There's no question. He was shook.
He just wasn't the guy that night, right? Like I'm reminded of the
I'm not a Ty hater. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I just think sometimes you got to shake it up when it's not working, and when you've got negative rushing yardage and you're not hitting open receivers in the flats or anywhere else, something needs to be done.
Look, I mean, the Dodgers put Clayton Kershaw on the mound, and sometimes he gets rocked for 5 homers, and you got to take him out that night. He's not the guy that night. And I feel like Jalen Milroe, that was true for him at Oklahoma last year. He obviously didn't have it that night. You probably needed something else, even if he was going to remain the guy. So if that was Ty on Saturday night, and it was also a game that Alabama could obviously afford to lose, and they were playing that way, which I think was part of the problem, where the effort, the fight just wasn't there.
Right. That was the problem. The problem was not that they lost. I mean, I think most people expected them to lose. It's hard to beat somebody twice. It's hard to beat Georgia twice. but it's just the manner in which they lost. It seemed very un-Alabama, and it hurts to see that because they got players. They got players. They need to be ready to play.
John, I'm not doubting your fandom. Like you said, you'll be there when they kick off in Norman. You'll be cheering them probably as hard, if not harder, than anybody.
I'll be cursing them into him as is my way.
Perfectly normal for Alabama fans, to say the least. But let's go a little deeper with this. Again, this idea of deserve and how you aren't holding back your true feelings about the team that you love so much. What do you think it is about being an Alabama fan that even helps you sort of like reach this level of, even if they've earned it according to a committee, and I'm sure you've got opinions on that group as well, in that organization and entity, but why do you think that? Why do you think that we as fans sort of like wrestle with this idea that even if we're like at the summit of the mountaintop, so to speak, we don't even want to go?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I don't want to go. I said I'm embarrassed by it. Okay. I mean, if we had not made it, I would have probably pointed back to all of those ranked teams that we beat, and when we performed well, and I would have, that would have different consequences. But I think that when you've watched this program over the course of history, then football. I mean, if people who watch we like to claim that we know the game, right? Because we've seen how it's done when we win. And you just want to claim that standard, the one that Bear Bryant would demand, the one that Nick Saban would demand, the one that fans along that way would demand. And I've gotten some criticism for not being completely loyal. I mean, it's just like people saying, if they don't like what I write about politics, they say leave. Well, if you don't like it, well, you leave. Well, no, it's not that I don't like it. It's just I wanted to do better, right? So block and tackle and throw the ball to the right guy and keep trying when it's not working.
So you're on the other side, the rare side of stick to politics, John. Stick to politics. Sit this one out.
I'll get that for sure, no doubt about it. But I mean, I'm honestly, a lot of people. There's an awful lot of. I mean, I'm not fun to watch a game with, by the way, because I
describe it for me.
There's a lot of love hate going on. It's doom and gloom, but it's the way I sort of process the game, and have developed a superstition of sorts that if I'm too optimistic, then I'm dooming our team to failure. So if you always expect the worst, then you're always surprised by how well we do. I love these guys. I love this team. I always have. I can't help myself. I've tried not to. And on those hours between kickoff and the whistle, I'm just as crazy as anybody else.
That's fandom, though. I think if you dedicate your life and in a lot of ways, not saying you, but fans in general, and maybe you would, but your identity in a lot of ways as an Alabama fan or whatever kind of fan, those moments of doubt are part of it. And that's something that you kind of have to live with and acknowledge. And personally, as somebody who's watched this for a long time, those moments of reflection and introspection, I think, are probably healthier if you can face realities like that and actually speak about the I guess critical or negative aspects of your team and what they're facing. If you can open up and speak honestly about those things, I think it makes it all go down a little easier. It's never easy ultimately if you're not winning what you want to win and reaching those goals. But I think it's okay to face reality sometimes, don't you?
Oh, I do. I think it's necessary, and it makes the victories even better. But the qualities that Alabama has come to claim. They're tough. They play hard. They show up. They demand excellence. You got to earn your position. All these things are great qualities, and not just in football, but in life. And you want to cling to those things. And I've always felt, if we as a state, as a city, as a whatever, ascribe to those sort of qualities, the ones that Nick Saban always talked about, then we'd be great. Everything would be great. We'd be in a better place. And when you just fail to show up, it's the antithesis of that.
John, what is your how do you feel about Kalen DeBoer? I mean, we're in year 2. He won one more regular season game than he did last year. Didn't make the playoff last year. Made it this year. Made the SEC championship. So technically an improvement over his first season. But how are you feeling about DeBoer at the moment?
I mean, I'm not ready to ditch the guy. I mean, it could be a lot worse, as we've seen elsewhere in the state. But I'd like to see him adapt a little bit better in game. I'd like to see the guys come out and play at a standard every day. I'd like to hear him say some of the things that Nick Saban said. I'd like him to understand the concept of rat poison, for instance. But I'm not ready to give up on him. It's a different world. It's a different college football landscape. There are different issues, and players are different, and championship games are certainly different. So I'm not ready to cut him loose yet, but I'd like to see him be a little more adaptable in the game, and I'd like to see him spank somebody.
Well, when you put it that way, last thing, John, if Alabama conquers the odds here, we had a conversation earlier this week on the show. Can Alabama run the table? Will they run the table now that they have the opportunity to do it? If they do, if they get past Oklahoma, if they run through Indiana in the Rose Bowl and they manage to work their way to the championship, if they become the team that they were, this team that ran through the SEC, could beat anybody that they played, could lose to anybody that they played, but were talented enough and focused enough and consistent enough and dangerous enough to beat whatever team that you might put in front of them. And now that they are part of this elite limited field of teams that are competing for the mountaintop, if they do that, John, then will they have deserved it?
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And if they don't beat Oklahoma, frankly, I'll be disappointed, and because they should have won the first time. They turned the ball over. If they beat Indiana, I'll be happy, because that's a good team. It's a buzzsaw. And so yeah, I mean, we've been there before. We've not deserved to be in the playoff mix in the past, and have proven ourselves worthy there. But it feels different. It feels different right now. So I'm hoping they prove me wrong. By the way, before I go, what do you consider? What are the worst 3 losses in Alabama history?
In Alabama history, I think we saw 1 or 2 of them last year under Kalen DeBoer. I think the Vanderbilt loss after Alabama had become the number 1 team in the country, and then they go in as the number 1 team and lose to Vanderbilt in that fashion. And granted, Vanderbilt has gotten better, but that was embarrassing. And then when all they needed was a win against an unranked Oklahoma team, a team that was far worse than Alabama last year, and they couldn't do it, and they blew their opportunity at the playoff. That was bad too. So I think a couple of them came last year. But other than that, I would probably go to the 2018 national championship when Alabama got blown out by Clemson, just absolutely didn't show up when it mattered most. That didn't happen under Nick Saban, and suddenly it did. And then maybe the Iron Bowl in 2010, they have a 24-point lead against Cam Newton and blow that too. So I've seen some bad ones in recent years. John, do you have a go-to?
Yeah, those are 2. Yeah, I agree with those, all of those. But I mean, I was thinking more beatdowns. The time when Alabama was dominated, the Clemson game for sure, the Nick Saban LSU game, the game when Nick Saban was at LSU, I guess it was 2003 or 4, and they beat us relentlessly, was a bad one. And I'm thinking the Georgia game last week was right there with them. Maybe worse. I mean, it was maybe worse. But I can't think of one that's worse than those 3.
Well, hopefully, similar to the Iron Bowl of 2017, when subsequently Alabama was able to make the playoff and go on and win the national championship, hopefully this Alabama team renders this SEC championship and that beatdown that you just mentioned moot. And it won't matter if they get it done, even if they beat Oklahoma and they advance to the Rose Bowl to play Indiana, the number 1 team. So a lot of people out there are probably wondering, John, why are they doing this? Why are they bringing these things up? Why do they talk about this? But I think that it's healthy, and I appreciate you bearing your soul and coming on and talking to me about this and helping me, to be honest with you. And I hope that I've helped you. So thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's therapy, as your show always is.
He is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, columnist, author. Go read his books. Go check out American Shrapnel, something else that's award-winning that you've done. It's a fantastic podcast. He's John Archibald. I'm Ben Flanagan. This is Beat Everyone. We'll see you next time. Thank you.